Should be, right?
Yeah, just check. Yep, they're good. All right, man. Hey, Steve, man. Thanks again for doing this, man. It's great.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I read your bio that like Garrett sent over, and then I was just like, yeah, this guy's a total badass. Like, I totally just felt like less about my life, looking at like all your accomplishments, and I'm just like, all right, awesome. So, I was looking at all your like your military highlights, man. You've had like a pretty extensive career in like a short amount of time, man. So, where did it kind of start? Like, you were right out of high school, right, and right into the army.
No, I actually college first. I graduated
Oh,
college in 2005.
Yeah, Steve, my age.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 38 years old, so I graduated high school 2001, college in 2005 with a bachelor's degree in criminal
Nice.
justice, and then I went right into the Army. 2006 to 2010, I was 1st Stryker Brigade Combat Team, 25th Infantry Division. We were stationed up in Fort Wainwright, Alaska, and cold.
What's that culture shock like going from Alaska to a desert?
Well, it's funny because when we left to go over, it was a blizzard, and we landed in a sandstorm in Kuwait. I'm like
Oh my gosh.
this is gonna be a good time.
Yeah.
I can't. What did I get myself into? But
Yeah.
you know, it's just the whole culture shock going from like a civilian life or going into the military. The whole structure of it. It's been standing since the 1700s, and they
Yeah.
stick by that motto of pretty much one for all.
Yeah.
Cover your six. We're all brothers no matter what. I worked with the guys on the field and in combat, and that were from all over the country and from all different diverse backgrounds. Guys from Texas, guys from Baltimore, guys from Flint, Michigan, guys from California and Montana, like Florida. Every dynamic you come together and you try to figure out how to do this and come home. And like I was in like the Balad, Bakuba, Tikrit area, which is like just north of Baghdad and northeast of Fallujah, and we were just outside of Sadr City, which is like being a firefight in the middle of Brooklyn, but involving heavy weapons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and during your time, you also completed like two full tours of Iraq, right?
Yeah, it was. I'm still here, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for your service, my brother.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you guys. It's good to see you. And I've been following, listening to you guys, so it's been fun. But I got out and I took a little time for myself. I just didn't. I took the unemployment check. All right. Okay.
Yeah. We've all done it.
It was there.
And headed to the bars every once in a while, right?
Yeah. I spent some of that money that I saved up overseas.
Yeah.
And wife got pregnant.
Yep.
And then I'm like, it's time to get back into the workforce. And I did what they used to do back then. You load up all your information and all your accomplishments and everything you've done into this thing called Monster.com. I don't know if you guys heard of it.
Yeah, I used Monster back at a college.
Yeah.
When I'm Monster.
So that's how you pretty much open yourself up to the new world.
Yeah.
Then I got a call from a headhunting agency, and they're like, "We want to set you up for an interview." I'm like, "Okay, well, we have a couple questions. Like, do you still have all your clearances?" I'm like, "Yeah, they haven't expired yet." They're like, "Okay, that's good." They went over all my military stuff, and then like all the different systems that I worked with, dealing with satellites and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they set me up with they set me up with an interview with Google up in Boston because I was living in Providence.
Yeah.
So I went up to Boston and I interviewed with the team, but they were just trying to see if they wanted you to even come to Google. They didn't have any information of what the project that I was going to be working on was going to be. Like, I didn't have a job title yet. It was just a vetting thing. And then a couple of days later, I got a call from the hiring recruiter. They're like, yeah, we want to offer you the job. So I had to go through all this background information stuff, and I had to forward all my clearances, and they had to conduct their own background investigation on me. Like, all right, you're cleared to go. You want to hop on a plane and fly out to San Francisco for a couple of weeks so you can train at the Mountain View headquarters.
Yeah.
Like, I talked to my girlfriend, my wife now at the time. I'm like, what do you think? She's like, what do you mean? What do I think? Crash on the plane. I'll drive to the airport. I'm like, okay. So I went out there for.
So you're on board. Good. That makes my life a little bit more easier.
Yeah, I was like, all right. If you're cool with it, I'm cool with it. I mean, it was only a few weeks I was gonna be gone. Where learned how to use the phone, like the super smartphones we had back at the time. How to log into like the satellite systems, and we went over everything. Another little quick background check again, just to make sure that I am who I am. And then they sit you down in this room, conference room, with your team that you're going to work with, and they tell you what you're going to be doing. So it was under the guides of a program called Indoor Mapping Project, where they wanted to go into like big box stores, like the box stores that weren't closed from the pandemic, the ones that you can go into with 1,000 people, those box stores. So we travel around these box stores with our devices, and what we do is we walk in and we start pinpointing our position linked into the Google satellite that we had access to. We walk into the building, we log onto the Wi-Fi, we log into the satellites, and we pinpoint our position through the building. And what they tried to explain to us was that we're doing this so if someone walks into one of these box stores and said, where are the baby wipes, on their phone, like, hey Google, where are the baby wipes? And they'd be like, oh, they're in aisle 7, because it knows what big box store you're in. So it knows that it
knows your positioning, it knows where you're at. Yep.
So your location already tells you you're in San Francisco at this location, box store 1249, and then they know that the baby wipes are in aisle 7.
Yeah.
And that's what our thing was. And then
that's what they packed.
Yeah, because you have a lot of people in an area condensed with everyone leaves your Wi-Fi and their Bluetooth on in reality. Like, unless people are really conscious about turning it off. Like, you normally leave it on because you walk into your house, it goes on. You walk into you walk on the mats or inside your building, it turns on.
It's on. You get in your car, it hooks up.
Yep.
Yeah, it hooks up to your car. Your Bluetooth's always on. Like, no one ever turns these things off, and they know that. So, like, when you're walking to a store, you don't have to necessarily log onto their Wi-Fi for that Wi-Fi to know that you're there.
To recognize you.
Yes, because when you walk in, your phone's like, there's Wi-Fi available. The Wi-Fi knows that there's a phone that's available to connect, but it doesn't have to connect. They really can't communicate, but they can bounce signals off each other.
But that's how they can tell where you're at.
Yes, exactly.
Physically on the planet.
Yeah, so it can just ping through everything, and I'm sorry, getting a little parched.
All right.
It will just ping you around this building, and we did that in hundreds of buildings. Hundreds of box stores, big box stores. Then, after about like 5-6 months, we're like, we want you to go to college campuses. So we're like, okay. So they're flying us to. I went to like University of Missouri, all these, flying over the country, going to these campuses. And they were like, now we want to try to figure out how we can direct someone to a certain location on a campus through an open corridors. Like,
yeah, we're just trying to help humanity. I get it.
Yeah, we just want to know
out of the kindness of our hearts.
If that freshman's coming in with all his bags, like, where's my dorm room? Like, where's room 336 in the Monopoly Hall or whatever. They're like, oh, just walk down here, make a left, and go up 3 flights of stairs, and your door should be on the right. That was the premise, is doing that. They're like, so they can help out the college kids navigate through a gigantic campus, which ended up being. I mean, if you think about it, it sounds like a good idea. Like, you know, if you're like some schmuck just walking around trying to figure out like what building you got to be in because you're late to your first class as a freshman. I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. And now they're like, all right, now we're gonna do it on open streets in the cities. So now we're going around major cities, and we're openly doing it on the streets. And then we're like, isn't Google Maps already a thing? Why do
Yeah.
I was just about to ask you, was this something that, like, preceded like Google Maps or something after that, or did they kind of like work with each other?
Was Google Maps already in play?
Oh yeah, this was 2010, 2011, 2012.
Yeah. Google Maps was
It
already
was
in
already
play.
in there. Okay.
Oh yeah, it was already well developed. They already had
The trucks driving around with the cameras all over them.
yeah. When I was in Google, they were like in the middle of that, and then when I was there, they were working on the self-driving car. You would see a car driving around campus, you're like, what in the?
What? There's nobody in that
There's
fucking
nobody in
thing.
there. Somebody dumping a rip e-brake.
I'm like, I need one of those things. And this is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10, 11 years ago. So just imagine where they are now. So then we started walking around the city streets. We're like, why do they keep like having us walk around and map and make grids for them? They should already know. Then I'm like, all right, that doesn't make sense.
So did your mind already start going as you're like, walking around like city streets, kind of like with your military background? Did you start thinking about like this has potential applications?
Like this is a strategic thing they're doing.
Of course, because back then the motto for Google was "Don't be evil."
Don't be evil.
I'm sure people have heard of it. If you eventually work for Google and you end up seeing this, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, I remember they said that 10 years ago."
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, they're just following us. They're just trying to figure out a better way to use other systems, satellites and Wi-Fi and now it's Bluetooth. I'll talk about Bluetooth meshing too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they should figure out the patterns of people. Like they know when you go to the bathroom. To be completely honest with you, though, because your phone moves from one location to another, and your screen time goes on and it doesn't move for 10 minutes.
Yeah. When you're taking a dump,
Yeah, they know when you're going to the bathroom because they know 25 minutes ago you were at Taco Bell. And then you move somewhere for a little bit, and then you stop moving for 10 minutes.
Yeah, this guy stopped here, ordered 3 queso burritos. Now he's in another location, and he's been there for 30 minutes. And exactly what he's doing.
Diarrhea for the next half hour.
Wait a minute. What's going on here right now? And then they started being able to do it with Bluetooth.
Mm-hmm.
This was a thing they were trying to develop called like the Bluetooth meshing. So pretty much, for example, there's a football game, Giant Stadium holds 56,000, maybe 60,000 people. It could be even more with these new gigantic stadiums. They were able to figure out that these 60,000 people all got up at the same time. They went to the gas station. They went to the diner. They all went to the liquor store.
Yeah.
And then they all met in this location. And then all their Bluetooths are bouncing around each other. And they're just realizing this, oh my God, every Sunday, this group of people does the same thing every time, but it only happens between a certain window of the year. Like concerts, like football games, it happens every Sunday, or every other Sunday if you're home or away. And then they're trying to figure out the patterns of people where they can learn the pattern and what you do to complete everything that has to get done for everyone to be in one location at once. Because then everyone's there and you're there for 5 hours not moving, and then they all disperse. They all go to diners again. They figure out the patterns of people. Then they're trying to figure out how they can do it with this everyday people in the mass transit moving by. Everyone's going in different directions, going to the mall, and then they're building these ad platforms with like algorithms that they can figure out. Hey, this person's walking down Fifth Avenue. Boop, 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 boop. They're going to be approaching this store, this Starbucks. They have the Starbucks app. We're going to send them a notification that it's buy one get one free lattes. Just for hypothetical, an example. That's how fast they can while you're walking. You're pinging off different Wi-Fi's, and the satellite's following you, and then eventually knows you're going to be down the street in front of Starbucks in 6 minutes.
So do you think they're doing this all to learn human patterns to just be able to sell?
Oh, 100%. Because
I mean, that's a part of it, but like, what else do you need to know that much shit about people for?
Information is more valuable than gold and oil and anything. It's the most valuable thing you can have, monetarily wise. Like if you want production, if you want, money.
Mm-hmm. Knowing is half the battle, G.I. Joe.
Yes. Go. Yes.
So I know right before we started, I mean, like you and I we were all talking about like Minority Report, like when that one scene where Tom Cruise is walking through a mall, and as he's walking, like different holographics of like advertisements, different things are popping up. So you're saying that could potentially be like the future if it's not essentially happening now. You're not getting a holographic, but you're getting a text or
getting a text, but that's just the beginning. I mean, eventually in that scene of Minority Report, when he's walking through the mall, he's getting it had to start somewhere. Like that just didn't boo, and then it was like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Like it was years and years of development and people on the ground making that ever occur. But it's only exponentially getting faster and faster and faster to a point where the AI is building things like they're almost like as soon as they build it, it's already obsolete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, that's the rate of speed that we're going with technology.
Yeah. So when you look at something like that, and obviously there's like a retail application and this, but when you look at like when you think about going back to like your military training and all your experience back then, what did you think?
Strategically,
what was your like this
okay,
is
we could use this for this. We could use this for that. Because it has both sides to it.
No, they have contracts. I mean, all these big tech companies have contracts with CIA and FBI and DEA. Like Amazon Web Services, I'm pretty sure takes care of most of our intelligence agencies.
Yeah.
So it's development that's never it's always going to be sold to someone that would like to have that information, or at least the technology that can use the information. So if they have to find a specific person at a certain amount at a certain time, like we got to find this person, something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or we got to find this person and talk to this person before something bad happens.
Yeah.
If they have your IP address or anything on your phone, they can almost find you instantly. Notice how when there's an Amber Alert or something happens, but thank God, the person's found in like hours or a day.
Yeah, I remember seeing something called they call it like a gizmo watch. So essentially, it's like a watch you give to your kid.
My son has one.
Yeah. So you have like program numbers, but also has the GPS. So if something happens, you also set like alerts. So if they fall outside of like a certain grid that you like designate, you get like a text saying like so and so is here when they're supposed to be here. So
like being like my crazy brain thinks two different ways about this. Is like, okay, it's good to be able to track your kids, but that means somebody else could track your kids.
Sure, I mean
that's where that creeps me the fuck out, man.
Yeah, not just obviously if they're letting you track your kid, that's what it comes down to. You're using their platform and their networks to track your child. Which I mean, it's a cool thing because on his watch, when you go to look for him, like he really hasn't used it. Santa Claus just got it for him, and I mean, there's really not much for us to do right now. So like, it's been in the house, but I was messing around with it, setting it up, and I just click on because I have an app on my phone that goes right to his. Like no one can randomly call him. Only certain people can call him, and he can only call certain people. So I just hit his location thing, and it went up to a Google Earth shot of my house with a picture of my son on his little bubble inside my house.
Wow.
Fucking
I mean, it's an old image. It's not a live image. But that's coming.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, anytime I look at like Google Earth and I just Google my house just because there's always like I see that and there's like my mom's car sitting in the driveway or something. I'm just like Jesus.
You're like, God, I gotta come home.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go down a crazy rabbit hole if you want. We can start getting down to shape-shifting lizards and aliens. I mean, it's only how deep you want to get.
I know. That's the issue. Like even with like just the technology and everything, like there's good and bad with everything, right? So like, all these bonus things, like me and Drew were talking about the other day. Like, remember simpler times when like you could just text and you could just call, or like even before that. But then we're like, but that GPS thing, like when you go to a different city, that's pretty convenient, and all that other stuff. But like everybody gets so absorbed by the social media and everything else that it's like you forget to like you're almost like time travel is different because you're locked into your phone, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, I've been on my phone for 2 hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You don't even recognize it.
You're on it. Like I took Facebook off my phone. Like I can't even. That platform is just ridiculous. Like I can't even. It's not even people connecting anymore. It's just people yelling at each other constantly.
Yeah.
Well, that's originally, yeah, because that's originally what it was for. Was like, oh, see, grandma can see the photos and this, and people you didn't go to school with, you stay in touch and all that. And now it's just like, let's burn this place down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you think people's grandmothers are in Antifa. I'm like, where are they getting this?
Yeah.
It's like Betty's not in Antifa.
Yeah.
Man.
I didn't know Grandma Betty got down like that.
Yeah.
Didn't know she got down with the soy boys.
It's crazy. People are just regurgitating information like that's unvetted. Like it's their idea. Like, yeah, because
which is
sure my mom made that meme.
Like Steve, like you even know, like if information is power, like you said, and if you're controlling the information that's coming out, whether it's true or false, that's a huge way to swing people one way or another. And then even coming from a military background, like intelligence, like false intelligence, that could get somebody killed. False intelligence can also work in your favor.
Of course. I mean, before we rolled out on any patrol, we just had it was a ramp brief where you talked about where you're going, what your purpose is. Everyone has to know what's going on, from the captain, lieutenant, the platoon sergeant down to the rifleman. Everyone has to have the same information in order for anything to actually
work
happen.
So is that like your process? Like when you have actually intel come in, like that's how you validate it to make sure it's actually good. Like you run it up, you run it down the chain essentially.
Well, it works both ways. I mean, a lieutenant can get information on the ground and pass it up to a colonel, and it could trickle down the other way. Because normally a guy who's the captain or the colonel, they're sitting back at the tactical operations center, or they're back inside the wire waiting to transmit information to the colonel, or waiting for information from the colonel to come down. The lieutenants and the platoon sergeants and the squad leaders and the team leaders and the riflemen and the saw gunners and your sniper teams, they're out doing it, and then the information is getting relayed back and forth. Boop, 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 like
move this way, go this way, come back this way. We got this going on over here. So then they're kind of playing like a chessboard back from command, and they're taking real-time information from you guys on the ground.
Yes, and
so it has to flow back and forth.
Exactly, this was, I mean, this is 14 years ago when I first got in the military. I got out in 2010, so that was 11 years ago when I got out. And we had information that we had, like the FBC-B2, which is like a system I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about, but it's a system inside of our Strykers that we can communicate with every other Stryker or other troops that weren't even involved in our operation on the ground simultaneously, like through a satellite system. Like I had my own screen just for that when I was vehicle commander. Like I was in charge of my vehicle, the lieutenant drove in my vehicle. Obviously he told us where the vehicle to go, but necessarily when it came down to it, it was my decision. Like it's my vehicle.
Yeah. So when you say Stryker, what is that exactly? Is that like a team, or is that?
Well, the Stryker itself is an actual 8-wheeled, 25-ton death machine that opens up, gives birth to infantrymen.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and I had cameras on it, and I had thermal on it, and I had a computer for the FPCV2, and I had a computer controlling my 50 cal. It had thermal. It had, it was wild. It had self-stabilizing gyros, which were moving. I can lock onto a target, and no matter what the vehicle does, my weapon stays
on point.
Stays on point and tracks him. And this was 10 years ago, so I didn't even know what they have now.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy when you think about it, because like I remember seeing remember when those phones came out? They still came out. They're like this size, right? But they fold in half and it's glass.
It's like that foldable glass, yeah.
Is it new?
There's so do you guys? There's one phone I saw. Do you remember the Motorola Razor?
Shit. Come on, man.
That's still the best phone I have, but they re-released it. But now it's got a foldable glass. So instead of you opening it and it's like the screen and the keyboard, now you open it and it's just
like an iPad.
Screen.
So this is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
This is what I'm getting at.
Just go.
So like I was talking to one of my buddies a while ago, and he was saying how you have like your field maps that you can like pull out and you can read, but he was saying 40 years ago that special forces had those glass style maps that they could just roll up and they were already computer linked and everything else.
40 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, This is my only thing. I mean, I don't know. You know better than me. But my only thing is, it's like, think about how long they had GPS for it before they gave it to us.
They wouldn't give it to us unless they mastered it. They're not letting us have it without them knowing exactly how it works.
And how to use it to their advantage.
Exactly. Like 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Like nobody's gonna be like, oh, just have this nice that changes lives for free.
It's like getting an assault rifle and be like, oh, you know how to use this thing?
Yeah.
Don't do that. It just makes sense that like everything trickles down. Like they're gonna master everything before they let us figure out how to use it.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, kind of, I don't know. I mean,
it's good and bad on both ends. There's always like, well, that's the thing. There's got to be yin and yang in life, and that's the yin and the yang. You get this beautiful technology that makes your life easier, but it also constricts your life without you even knowing it.
Oh, this is the worst. Well, this is crazy that this has more technology than a space shuttle did back when we were landing.
Yeah. Dude, me and Drew say it all the time. Like,
ago,
it was like podcasts ago. I'm like, these little special boxes, right? They literally have more technology than what we use to get to the moon. So they gave us this thing. You don't know what they're doing up there.
Yeah.
Oh, and I have all the world's knowledge, and like I can debate someone live with just using my phone instantly. I didn't have it. I'll be right back. Hold on. And
I know.
And they're reading
10
encyclopedia.
minutes for a computer to boot up, and then
it's insane how quick. But that's it. I mean, like I said, it's good and it's bad because the information flows, and you're seeing it being choked right now. The free flow of information for certain narratives, but. The thing is like that's also a double-edged sword because people can be like, that's bullshit. I saw it with my own eyes. And then they go and send it all out. And they're like, this isn't what happened. Everybody's also got a 1080, P or whatever HD camera that you can be like, look, this is what happened right now.
Everyone's essentially an independent fact checker when you look at it nowadays. Yes. Now that you have the information in your hands, everyone's checking facts, checking this.
Or an independent journalist too, because you could document something that like goes down in front of you and you're just like all of a sudden your video's on CNN or
well, same thing like we were saying, it's good and bad that if something shitty were to go down, you have someone there that immediately it's not back in the day like we're at the school play, you have the shoulder cam, now you have it right in your pocket.
What school play? Where did you come up with school play?
I gotta bring my child with
the slides in
that was like my dad's episode. Had the camera, you slide the VHS in, had the boom mic that pointed out like God.
And the guy who had that, you're like, that kid's dad is rich.
Exactly.
What does that guy do for a living?
Yeah.
Well, you have more than one TV? Like what?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember our buddy Lex?
Oh yeah.
All right, I remember his dad had like the first car phone I've ever seen in my life.
My God.
Oh yeah, it was
he had it like his Lincoln Continental, and his dad was like all big into tech or whatever, so he always had like the newest shit. But it was like literally like one of them like rotary looking almost phones like drilled into the thing. But I was like, you have a phone in the car? Who are you?
What are you, Knight Rider?
Are you the president? Are you Knight Rider? What is going on? Yeah.
Like the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
that's great. That's such a good.
That guy must trade stocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's you go from that to the beginning of our life to I know everything in the world now.
Yeah,
that's the other craziest thing. It's like, oh, I could Google the books of Alexandria almost on here. If they still exist, it would be on here. Like you could check like the Library of Congress's books from the phone.
Yes.
It's insane.
Yes, and then where we go in the next 30 years, we're going to what Drew said, Minority Report. Like,
you won't even need a phone. Like
you're not gonna like. And then Elon Musk talks about Neuralink.
I know. Like, dude, I don't know if I'm all about the Musk putting his little figgies in my brain.
Yeah, like wait a minute.
Yeah. Well, that's a good crazy now too. Like, do you think he's trying to look like the savior right now because he's always going out against the grain? Like, oh, you shouldn't be silencing, you shouldn't be this. But he's the same guy who's trying to put a connector in your brain.
I think he is doing it under his own belief for the better of mankind. Because the guy's roasting bones with Rogan.
Yeah.
Live on. And when he talk, it's like you can't even talk to the guy because it's like a 3-year-old talking to Einstein.
I know. I know. It's like he's bored with your banter.
Yeah.
He's bored with your stupidity. Like you're not even on his level.
Yeah.
You fucking
get some chili. Like
yeah.
And then buy my electric car. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I love them.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
They're crazy. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the other thing too. Like, you know, everything being electric, but like people forget that it takes a lot of gas and everything to mine the stuff to make a battery, and there's only so much of that on the planet
to make the raw materials. Yeah.
Well, Afghanistan's got a lot of lithium.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, I heard they have lithium, and they have a lot of heroin.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, they do. Two things that are
funny.
two things that are very good for the government.
Yeah, it was funny. Right after we went into Iran, there was a huge opiate crisis. Did you guys remember that?
What, Iran or Iraq?
No, Afghanistan.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did I say Iran? Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sorry. I'm thinking ahead.
I
It's
know.
just, yeah. It's like Afghanistan. They got a lot of lithium, a lot of opium. We need a lot of lithium, and we love opium.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Our commodities.
Yeah, this comes hand in hand.
Yeah. So kind of like looking at like, you know, just everything that's out there, current events, like based on like, you know, your background, like you've been in good situations and you've seen good situations turn horrible real quick in your military experience. But then now you see everything that's kind of going out in the news. Like what's like your thought process, especially having that background and now being a father and having kids and all this stuff? Like, what do you think? Like, what kind of keeps you up at night when you see that?
You just totally loaded him up. Fuck.
How much time you guys got on the hand?
Yeah. Are we on a limited recording here?
No, we're good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My kids are taking nap time till like 4 o'clock. So I think we're good.
I know me and you have shot, you know, especially recently since me and you got to reconnect and, you know, we've been talking more.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there's a lot of stuff that keeps me up at night, you know, like, so.
It's insane. I mean, when you think about what's currently going on and who's controlling the information, obviously you have to look to the left. They control the media companies. They control Hollywood. They control educational institutions. Right now, they have control of the House. They have been. They're getting control of the Senate, and then they're going to put a puppet in the Oval Office. Like the only way we're going is that. That's what keeps me up at night, because what's happening right now with the printing of all this money, this is going to affect our grandchildren. Like
Yes.
People don't understand. Like they don't get it. Like
They don't get it. Well, that's like, I was even saying, I don't mean to cut you off, Steve, but like that $600 stimulus, I'm like, do you know how much that's going to cost your kid? Yeah, first of all, it's like, go grab your shine box and pick up those quarters.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So, but the other thing is, it's like, I read something and I might be off. So, you know, you can fact check me. I'm not 100% right. I'm not putting this out.
I'll fact check you right here, buddy.
But I heard that over the time, that $600 will end up costing our kids $37,000 per citizen or something, with interest and everything else over the years.
I don't doubt it. I mean, I'm not that in depth with, you know, running numbers and everything, but it makes sense. And they just keep printing money, and there's nothing backing it, because money either is backed by physical labor, like you're producing something for someone's buying your product. You can't just keep throwing money out with nothing behind it. I mean, eventually everything's going to trickle down back to where we were, you know, Great Depression era, where you can just light money on fire because it's worthless unless you have $75,000 to buy a goddamn gallon of milk.
Yeah, it's insane. And, you know, that's the thing. People think like, oh, inflation, everything's going up. No, it's the value of the dollar going down.
Exactly.
So you need those dollars to make it happen.
Yeah, the product is your buying power. Like the product on the shelf is what like you could do. Remember, like back in the day, my dad was getting like when he first started construction, he's probably getting like $5 an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, this is back in like the early 70s and the 60s.
Yeah.
But, you know, a gallon of milk was I didn't know what else was back then.
Yeah.
It was
probably like 80 cents or something, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's getting outrageous right now. And I think they've said they've printed up to 60% of all American-known currency in the history of America. 60% of it's been printed in the last 9 months.
Jesus Christ!
And you can look at you.
No. I know. I didn't know it was that big, but I knew it was something ridiculous. Well, you know, and you're starting to hear a lot of countries and a lot of people trying to get on the same page about the Great Reset.
Buddy, I'm happy you just said that to me right now.
I want to hear your thoughts on the Great Reset, because
you're starting to see it get bounced around a lot.
Well, now you're starting to see like actual leaders and stuff and institutions talking about the Great Reset.
Yeah, there's been New York Times and Washington Post articles with the title "The Great Reset."
Yes.
Magazine covers with the title "The Great Reset." I mean, if you search "Great Reset" on Google, I mean, you have to go down and find the platforms you think that are true. It's happening. It's here and it's now, because it's hard to even think about right now when you have like a family and kids. You're like, we are going down the path that they don't understand where it leads to or how it ends, and they're just like, they just keep printing money, and they want to keep you inside, and they want no one to have property, and like, where does it end?
Well, that's like, I don't know if you saw the thing I posted on my personal IG and on the Two Live Fools thing. It was let me bring it up. It was the Who, I think, that posted it. I don't know if you saw that earlier.
Health organization?
Yeah.
Or the band
organization. So I posted it, and yeah, it's the World Economic Forum. I'm sorry.
Okay.
World Economic Forum says,
which is happening this year.
Yes. So it says, you will own nothing and you will be happy. This is how our world will change by 2030.
Yes. Well, I should say this happens all the time, but yeah. Okay.
But they're putting it in your face. Like, this is the world, like world reforms, world organizations, everything else. Like, everybody goes, it's a crazy conspiracy. They're putting it in your face.
Look,
open your eyes.
Up the invitation list of people that will be attending this summit. It's all big tech.
Yep.
It's all Hollywood. It's insane. It's not just, that forum is not just for government officials.
Yeah,
it's influencers. It's for media moguls. It's for advertising companies. It's wild. And then people just like, they don't get it. They don't understand, because they're not doing their own they're not doing their own research about the news that they're hearing is real or fake, because they get, or Fox or OAN or Newsmax or CNN, MSNBC. They're all saying different things at the same time, but no one decides to look for themselves. They just like, I believe what CNN says. That's got to be true. But Fox is saying this thing over here. Where are we? I mean, do your own research.
And I think that's a big problem too with what's going on now, is it's not really factual reporting anymore. It's everybody's opinion of a situation.
Yes, exactly. It's not
actual factual information, like when you're on Fox or CNN or even OAN, Newsmax, all that stuff. They're telling you what you want to hear when you're on a side and trying to rah the troops.
Like, if you really want to find out what's going on, find out yourself. If you're tuning into these certain networks, you're tuning in because you want to feel comfortable with what they tell you, what they believe is true, or what they're told to tell you, which is true.
Told to tell you, Operation Mockingbird.
Absolutely, they're told to tell you.
And everybody goes, it's good. You can look that shit up. It's proven. Yo, did you see the D-class on the JFK articles?
I have not yet. I haven't gone down the rabbit hole.
So I was reading it yesterday, right? And it wasn't like anything like super like, they know who did it. But the thing that really stuck out to me was all the things that were released were basically saying that the CIA, and it was a concern, and these are like general signatures that were in at the time and all that the CIA had 40 plus reporters as operative agents in all the major the newspapers at the time, because that's how you got it. And a lot of things were like, they're giving disinformation. This is a CIA agent screwing with the American people. Like, you can read it for yourself, right? And it's exactly what's happening now, is the mainstream media pushing narratives and stuff like that. That was happening in the 60s and during a presidential assassination.
100%.
And they were hiding shit.
Yeah, they control the flow of information. They control every aspect of pretty much your life. In one single moment, a tech company can just swoop, boop, and silence a sitting president. So if they can just hit a button and silence a sitting president,
what do you think they could do to you?
Exactly. You're
peon sitting in your living room with a nice girly bike behind you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. This is all the flavor.
Well, it's funny when we first got on, Drew was like, "Oh, nice thing," and you're like, "Oh yeah, my son's." I'm like, "Your son has streamers on his bike? That's cool. That's cool. It is 2021. All right."
Hey, that's the way we're going. All right. Yeah, that's the way we're going. We're getting D-man, whatever. Escape.
Trust me, my office still has the kitchen set and all that stuff in there too. So
I got the kitchen set, baby.
Yep. It's like my one desk, my computer, and then just toys all around it. So.
Oh yeah, if you can see inside this room right now, it's.
Oh, dude, this is nothing, bro. I have 3 boys under 6, man.
Oh, you're not.
Yeah, I know.
Just swords and toy guns everywhere.
Dude, they tape bayonets on the toys and shit. Oh. They put the swords on them. They're fighting. I literally woke up this morning and the baby's just going, bam, 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 bam. And he's hitting things with swords. And I'm like, oh my God.
Does your one son sleep with a hammer?
Yeah, Gabe. Gabe sleeps with a hammer.
Well, I heard you guys talking about that.
No, he does. And a skeleton. That's his baby. The skeleton. You know, like the Minecraft skeletons, like the creeper looking things. Yeah.
Keep your eye on that kid.
Yeah. I know. That's what I said. Sociopath, or he's going to be the best assassin ever. So you can go either way.
He'll be real silent.
He will. Yeah. He will be there for the Republic, or he's going to go the other way.
It does help his dad's a black belt.
Yeah. Does he trains? They all trained. Well, the baby trains at home. You know.
They should all train. Everyone should know how to roll around a little bit.
Yep. I mean, you wrestled in high school, right?
I wrestled my whole life until high school. Until college. I didn't do it in college.
Yeah.
Then we got into, doing hand-to-hand combat and combatives in the Army, which, it's not belts, it's levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
did you see your wrestling background really kind of come into play there once you started getting into actual combat combatives?
It hurt me with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because when you're wrestling, you're always giving them your back.
Yes, because you're used to belly and
put you in rear naked. They got to put you on your back. You're always giving them So that hurt me because guys that has a little BJJ training before the military, when I would roll with them, they'd hook me up faster. But if I wrestled someone that didn't have any training at all, I'd smack them around.
Yeah, exactly.
Not physically smack. I'm saying it'd be easier for me to manipulate their body. Yeah. But then when some guy's got he's got a blue belt or something. It took me a while to start being competitive with him because he already had a different style of training than me. Like I was in a wrestling match, you're trying to get points, you're trying to pin someone.
Yeah, and then even being a jiu-jitsu guy dealing with a wrestler, like they've seen that before. Because that's like wrestlers come in and try to do it. So it's like, oh, I've seen what this guy does before and they know how to deal with it.
Exactly. Like
where like if you just wrestled and you never were on a jiu-jitsu mat, you're like, what the fuck is he doing? Where is
it was very humbling. It was very humbling because when we were in high school, our team alone, we were winning districts and we were going to regional as a team, as a complete team, not an individual in a tournament. Teams were winning district championships and we were in the state tournaments as a team, and then so I felt like I'm a damn good wrestler, I guess. And then I get humbled on a mat by someone that's got a little more experience in a different style of rolling.
Yeah, it works the opposite too, because I just got my brown belt probably 6 months ago, but so I've trained with Garrett. I've come into wrestling a lot later than most people, so it works the reverse when you're used to playing guard and all these and then you roll with somebody who's could be a high school wrestler and they're putting you on your ass every 5 seconds. Now you're kind of going back, but all right, I thought it was good, but there's this whole other element to grappling that I really need to kind of hone in on. So I feel like it kind of works both ways, whether you're a wrestling guy going jiu-jitsu guy or kind of going backwards. There's all these other elements, especially when it comes to grappling combatives that
because a lot of jiu-jitsu schools aren't super heavy on takedowns or throws. For me, that's always been I'm like, your jiu-jitsu is fucking useless if you can't get the fight to the ground. Yeah. So I need to know how to wrestle. I need to know how to do judo. So that's my school. We always I have guys that can wrestle pretty well in here, but we're always going over takedown shots, setups, how to get the guy down, because if you can't get the guy down, your jiu-jitsu is not going to work.
Of course. Well, that and guys that started with striking too, and then went to Brazilian. I mean, you can't mess with those guys, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have a black belt. You have 2 black belts, right? Well, you have one in kickboxing.
Yeah, I have a kickboxing black belt, I have a karate black belt, jiu-jitsu black belt, and a weapons black belt. But I started out karate and kickboxing, and then I went to jiu-jitsu, and then I know how to do both now. I can stay on my feet, or I can go to the ground.
Yeah, and then your other friend, the other world junkie. Right, I mean, I told my son, because he was doing karate for a while, a black belt is just a white belt that never gave up.
Yep, very true.
Never gave up.
That's a big saying. I used to have that in my other school on the wall.
Like he was just saying, he's a brown belt, and eventually, dedication and work and precision and putting the time in, you'll get that black belt. And they'll be like,
I say it all the time. I was just too stupid to stop getting punched and kept showing up.
Yeah.
Oh, it is people are like, "Oh, you're a black." I'm like, I got my ass whooped. I've been choked 1,000 times in one roll. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to go through the fire to get harder.
Exactly. And then the moment he gets his black belt, that might be for some people that's like the greatest moment of their life, other than watching your children be born. Sometimes because you went from here and you're here, and now
you've bled, you sweat, you hurt things, man.
You earned it. And we say it all the time is like, anything that's worth anything in life shouldn't come easy because you won't appreciate it.
Exactly. And that's the problem with Americans right now. They're just greedy, ungrateful.
They're used to instant gratification. Yeah. I see it all the time. People come in, oh, I just want to I want to learn how to defend myself. I'm like, well, get in fucking line, because I've been trying to do it for 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
they think that, show me a couple moves. I'm like, you're going to be a couple move proficient with what? 3 weeks of training? You're going to die. You're going to get killed.
A couple moves? Give me
Dude, I get it all the time. Like, Jersey heard people say it. Like, they literally come in and they're like, all right, I just want to learn a little self-defense. And I'm like, okay, well, buy a gun.
Yeah.
That's the easiest, quickest self-defense. Step hag.
I've seen a lot of like younger practitioners when they come to me, they come to anyone else, and they're like, oh yeah, I just want to get like my black belt and this and that. And I tell them,
get your black belt. Go
ahead. I'm like, listen, man. I'm like, if you focus on like the merits, and you focus on the belts, man, you're gonna get so like discouraged. I'm like, don't worry about it. Listen,
just enjoy the process.
Yeah, I'm like, listen, if you train regularly, set some goals.
Those things will come.
Like the black belt's gonna come.
It's gonna come.
Trust me, you get to a point, especially once you're in it. I'm gonna say probably like it was like purple belt for me. Like I stopped worrying about the belts. I didn't care.
You don't. They'll come when they come, because you want to be proficient at the art and get better. Like,
if you're still moving, you're still and you feel yourself getting better. Whether it's like 0.1% a day or 5% a day. Like let's just keep doing that, and like you'll get it. It may be 5 years, maybe 10 years, but listen, it's just keep showing up, man. Don't worry about it.
That's what we got to work on, though. Like that. But it's like everything in life, dude. You have to work on yourself constantly to become a better person. A better father, better mother, better brother, better sister. Like, that's a constant process, man.
Yeah. And I guess we all know, especially as fathers, like that just never ends. That process,
You're always learning and growing.
We feel like we crush it one day, and then the other day we just feel like shit.
No, you get crushed the next day.
Yeah, you're crushed the next day.
But the thing with fatherhood, for most people, like I mean, we all know scumbags that don't show up or quit. Like, I just don't have that in me. I'm not going to quit on my kids.
I mean, I hope no one would ever quit on their children.
Yeah, but you know how it is. How many deadbeat dads do you know? How many people did you know growing up, like their fathers weren't around, shit like that? Like, you deal with it. I just seen it, and I don't want that to ever be me.
It wasn't. I mean, where we grew up in Jersey, it wasn't as predominant as some situations where you're talking about like inner cities, like.
Yeah,
the father figure is a huge thing, and you see that in more of an urban, fast-paced environment situation.
Yeah.
Of course, it was happening in Bergen County, it was happening in Sussex County, Essex County. It happens everywhere in the world, but you always see the problem with like the inner cities
we've talked about it a bunch of times. Like, the biggest problem, like how important a father really is to a family, and a lot of problems is the father being absent.
Yeah.
Yes. And I can always be a better father too. Like, you can always be better than what you are.
Yeah, and it's that constant struggle, just doing what you can to be better. And it's just like I said, every day. I mean, I've only been a father a couple of years, but I mean, like I said, there's some days where I feel like I'm getting better, and there's other days where it's just like I don't know. I don't got this. Like, I don't got this.
But I think another good thing, is we surround ourselves with like good men.
Yeah.
Women too, but I'm just saying from like a fatherly aspect. I mean, there's always a scumbag in the bunch. Like,
you always, if you're looking for one, you'll find one.
Exactly, but for the most part, like we don't let shitty people around us.
It's your circle, man. You build up that strong circle.
Yeah, so like it's good. Like Drew can come to me just because I'm a little bit ahead of him and be like, "Yo, what did you do with this, and this?" Or what like, and we can bounce off. Or like, "Hey, how do you handle that?" Like, it gives you some sort of platform to be able to speak to each other.
Yeah, even my wife sometimes, because my sister-in-law, like her sister, like she has 4 boys, and she said,
I know. I got 3, and I'm like, you psychopath.
So every once in a while, like I'll hear her like on the phone, like asking certain things. Like I said, right now we're going through terrible twos, and like you think like you're not doing it right, but then she'll call her and she'll be like, nope, that's normal for her to go crazy when you take away like her comb or her bottle or something. So it's it goes back to circles. Like you surround yourself with those positive figures who who may have more experience than you, and you kind of see like kind of bounce ideas off each other and see what works. Whether it be jiu-jitsu, fatherhood, anything else.
Yeah, and just trying to steer them in the right direction all the time. Although what was right when we were growing up is probably wrong now. Well, at least that's what's wrong.
I know. Well, you know what? We've been talking about that, and toxic masculinity and all this other shit. Like, I mean, Drew has girls, you got 1 and 1, I got all boys, so it's just like He-Man Woman Haters Club in my house, right? But like no, but Rand's like she's a boy bomb, she's tough, and but like what we were saying is like I've kind of seen a switch. A little bit. Like we get certain things shoved down our throat through like social media and everything. Like, oh, you need to act this way, or like you need to do this, and you need to be more diverse, and you need to do this. But like most of like the real motherfuckers that I know, like parents, men, women, everything, you're starting to see them because they're all our age.
Yeah.
And we grew up a certain way, and there was this gap in between us, like right underneath us, that we saw like really get like pussified. Easiest way for me to say it. Yeah. But like I'm starting to see like even the mom stuff like that, like they're like, toughen up, do this, do that, like kind of going back to the way we were raised.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we keep those values too, because I mean the fact that people like I got my son the Gizmo. I'm like, Gizmo, I had a goddamn street light and be home at 6.
Yeah.
Goddamn Gizmo.
Yeah, you think about like back in the day, like playing around, like
we did an episode where it's like you just go out on the bikes and you knew by like dark you gotta go home for dinner, and then you're already setting up on something.
You didn't have the phone or anything.
You're playing like tackle football all day and
kill the carrier. Oh yeah,
kill the carrier. Everything just beat crap out.
Manhunt.
Yeah, manhunt.
Manhunt. I remember like just. We had trails and stuff behind the house, so riding on our trails with our bikes, no helmets, no pads or anything.
Helmets.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I used to face traffic in the back of a station wagon.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what we say all the
with
time.
No seatbelt on.
I know.
What is it? The Buick Roadmaster. My dad had one. The Buick Roadmaster station wagon.
It had wood paneling.
Yeah, it was white with wood paneling. Had the fold-up seat.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. No seatbelt and no seat. Yeah. Cars were essentially bulletproof back then. Like,
Oh my God.
That was just crazy. Like you think about it, like getting rear-ended.
Yeah.
Right? Like think about it. Like sitting in the back of that thing and like you're just seeing traffic like stop at you every time.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And you're laughing too. You're like giving people the finger.
Yeah.
Dude, it was the best. I remember seeing like a picture a long time. Like one of the cars my mom had, she had an old Volkswagen Rabbit, and there's a picture.
My dad had one of them.
Yeah, like one of those. And she was telling me, she's like, you know what? I know it's like we never used a car seat with you in like back in the day. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, yeah. She's like, if we were going to church and like church was like maybe 10 minutes away, she's like, your sister would sit in the back and like you'd be on her lap and that was it. I'm like, no car seat, nothing. She's like, no.
I don't remember a car seat for me really either.
I mean,
and I'm older than Drew.
Yeah.
My memory's not that good anymore.
Yeah, no, but like
I remember a car seat.
We had like very like archaic car seats. I think by the time we were born.
Yeah, it was probably like a lap belt and a bucket.
Lap belt, football helmet on. Get in there, guys. Slap you out.
Not even in the seat, like on the floor behind the seat. This way, you had the shield just in case the car stopped. Like
God. Oh. And the cars were actually made. The whole body was steel.
Yeah, like unibody steel car, like
everything was V8.
Yeah, exactly. Everything was gasoline.
Yeah.
Those are the good old days.
Your new green deal right here. Bye bye.
And if they had these things when I was in high school, I'd be in prison right now.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
I know. You say it all the time. We've had some wild times. I know.
Jesus. Nowadays, you're like, no one recorded that, huh? No one recorded that? Woo.
Yeah.
Back they were like, did someone get a picture, please?
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you don't develop it for 6 months, and you're like, whoa.
You find that camera, and you're like, yo, we got to see what's left on these pictures, bro.
God.
But that was the weekend up at Cousins or something.
That was
you know?
you drop off the photo booth, and like you have to wait a couple days to actually get your pictures or something.
Oh.
But then that person developing your film was like, you sick son of a bitch.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think like Garrett and I've had multiple conversations that like, we would hope that at some aspect we could kind of get back to that. Where like when we talk about like community, where like, your kids could,
like you can go outside and your kid can go 2 houses up where you can't see him, not worry about some weird kid toucher grabbing him,
Yeah.
Or you just walk into your friend's house back in the day. Like, hey!
Hey, what's up? You're banging on the door,
Give your parents a phone call, be like, oh yeah, I'm up the street, but I'm gonna stay for dinner or whatnot. Or if like the kids at your house, be like, oh, your parents know you're here, be like, all right, you staying for dinner, and like,
Yeah, then you're like, you're hanging out late, and you're like, oh, you're just sleeping over, right? Call your mom.
Yeah, I'm sleeping at Mike's house. Okay.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. That's all it was.
Yeah, it was
such simpler times.
It was simpler time. It was just nice when you think about it. It's it's so easy to go back and reminisce, but then when you like bringing up your kids now, I'd be like, oh, I wish I could just let them go, and they could be gone all day, and I'm not like at home like shitting a brick, hoping like someone.
Yeah, we said this. Our parents had it fucking easy, bro.
Oh yeah,
they had it easy. Just kick us out the door and be gone for 12 hours, and they can do whatever the hell they want.
My mom,
now you try to clean the house, and your kid's like, Rah!
Yeah, my mom at 9 o'clock on a Saturday, like 9 o'clock in the morning, if she saw me like watching the cartoons,
she'd get up, go outside.
She would literally kick me out of the house. She'd be like, don't come back. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's some black mob Haitian shit right there.
Oh
though.
yeah.
Yep.
Get out of here, boy. Back.
Yeah. She would push me out. She'd be like,
go play, right?
Go play. She goes, go see what so and so's up to or everything.
She would ship you off somewhere else.
Yeah, I had one of my best friends growing up. He lived like maybe 3 houses down. She'd be like, all right, go see what he's doing. I'm like, all right.
You guys go build a fort in the woods. Get out of here.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh God. Like you come back with poison ivy and like stitches.
Oh yeah, always. Because you're like, all right, so we built this fort in the tree. Where did you get the nails? We ripped them out of somebody's deck. Where'd you get the hammer? We just used the rock. Where'd you get the lumber? Oh, we took apart Timmy's pool house. Like you would do that shit all the time.
Oh, the best.
Movie traps, set up stuff. I did that all the time. We
were building death traps.
Yes, we were. You were building death traps.
It was amazing.
How we're all still alive and still have all of our limbs,
and not in prison. It blows my mind.
I say it to him all the time. I'm like, I'm just happy I am not in jail. Like the craziest shit we've done.
Yeah. Well, I think about like then, like something like you're like in our high school, like they used to call him like a resource officer, but it was always like a cop. Yeah. Just kind of like had his little office by like the by the gymnasium. Yep. He'd walk by there, he'd be on there, have his foot up on his desk, like just be. He'd walk the halls every once in a while. I remember like seeing it every once in a while. He'd like pull out like his nightstick and like do like a ninja move and like click it like it's an old baton. I'm like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah, like I'm living my life right
now. But I remember like it kind of like set that or kind of like built that relationship, like because we'd always like fuck around like around town and whatnot, and like he'd be out in town, he'd see us. So
because then he'd be on patrol. He'd be like, "You assholes, get inside!" If you were a jerk, they'd give you trouble. But like, if they knew you were a good kid, even though you were a pain in the ass, they'd be like, "All right, There was plenty of times they're like, "Gar, I like you. You're a good kid. Get the fuck out of here right now."
Yeah,
like I was popping his later.
I would just pop. Well, they didn't come in until like maybe my junior year in high school. But I would pop in like, "Hey, what's up, brother?" Like you just pop in, say hi, go to gym.
Yeah. Yep.
Now I think they're wearing full SWAT gear and just beating kids.
Yeah. And you got to hit a buzzer to get into the school, and then they hit it and unlock it, and then you got to sign it. You can't walk around with it unless you're assisted or something. It's crazy.
Got to wear a badge thing at my son's school. You got to go to the office to check you in, and then they'll like almost escort you to like my son's just getting going to the dentist. I'm like,
I know exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I get both sides, but I mean, with the shootings and everything else, but false flags. But like,
Oh, you want to go down that rabbit hole?
Hey, listen, what's the first thing they said? They're going for the Second Amendment grab, and Biden's not even in office.
Oh, I mean,
yeah,
Steve, they went after one. Why would not go after two? Nobody's stopping them on one.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Steve, someone who has like, I'm sure you have extensive like experience with firearms and weaponry right now. Yeah. Like when you see like everyone buying up all the guns and
I got Drew to buy a gun.
Like, what's your thought when you see like average civilians who just hated guns and now they're like, I got to get one at least once. Like, what do you think when you see like that many people like up and just
because people are going for like firearms IDs in New Jersey? Like, dude, they're backed up, and like you said, like there's literally people that never even wanted a gun. And then, like, when this starts to come down, I'm like, Drew, you gotta get a gun. Drew, you gotta get it.
It was something I talked to you about for, like, years.
Yeah.
I'm like,
but it was never an issue. Like, it was never a rush.
I was gonna pick one up. I'm like, all right. And then this kind of started. I'm like, all right, let me just see how long the process takes.
I'm like, get one now!
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. So what do you think when you see all that? Average civilians now just, like, picking up anything and everything.
I think they said almost 10 million new gun owners.
Yeah.
Since March, since the George Floyd riots started.
Yeah.
That's when we really started getting concerned.
Yeah.
Up in Rhode Island's different. Like I can walk in, I can purchase a weapon, and then I pick it up in 7 days. I don't got to go to the police department and ask permission to do anything. I can walk right in, buy whatever, as long as it's not a handgun. A handgun, you need that blue card in Rhode Island for it, where you got to take a little test and make sure that you're proficient.
But you can conceal carry up there, right?
I think in Rhode Island you can open carry. Conceal, you just have to get a letter, and you got to actually qualify.
But I think that's good because like my thing with like open carry is like you look like an asshole and now you're a target.
Yes, and now when anyone gets involved with you, there's always one thing that's going to happen in the situation, that there's a weapon present.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everyone knows there's a weapon present. Open carry, it's stupid. But
unless you got like one under each arm like this and like, what's up, motherfuckers?
I mean, if you're going to do it, make it look cool. I mean, carry, cool.
You might as well go RoboCop style.
Clint Eastwood, get a thing that pops out of the leg like RoboCop. Yeah, that
leg drop. Yeah, put a leg drop on and it's like make funny sound. Yeah, that's cool. I love how everyone's buying firearms. Everyone, if you don't want to own a firearm in your house for your own thing, that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. But everyone should know how to use or operate a revolver, a semi-automatic handgun, even a rifle, because you just never know. And I'd rather you know how to do it and not need to ever do it than have no clue and then put in a situation where there's a weapon involved.
So basic knowledge and safety, like you're like everyone.
That's it.
It's like everything else. Like you use a knife to eat, you know not to grab it with your hand and cut yourself. You have basic knowledge of a knife that it is sharp. It will hurt you. If it can cut a steak, it's gonna cut your finger off.
Yeah, it's a tool, not a toy, and it can be used. It can be used for fun, private. It can be used for hunting. It can self-defense. Obviously, just don't do anything stupid with it. I mean, if you own a gun, at least know what you're doing with it.
You got to know how to operate it, load it, make sure it's safe when you unload it, when you're cleaning it.
You're handing to somebody, clear it, all that stuff. Yeah.
Slide the mag back, lock the upper, drop the mag.
Yeah. Well, that's simple things like that. But like I also say, like people that are uneducated about them are scared of them.
Absolutely. Look, I'll be honest.
No.
So I picked up my my first handgun on Monday. So I purchased it.
Yes.
Cherry popped.
Which was crazy because going to the store, like I'd gone there maybe 2 months prior when I was actually dropping my deposit, and they had racks were full, cases were full, walls were full. Went to go pick it up Monday, like bone dry. They had guns there, and I remember talking to the associate there. I'm like, you still got some guns? He's like, everything you see in my store is sold. Aside from the $4,000 1911 that I was looking at in the rack when I was picking up my gun.
That's a beautiful gun, though. I'm sure.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. So but honestly,
I'm a gun snob.
When I got there and when I picked it up and got home, like opened it and looked at it, and I was going through the basics, making sure it's clear. And I mean, they gave me a box of ammo with it, and the ammo was on the other side of my desk, and the gun was here, and it was completely like broken down. I'm gonna be like, I got a little bit of kind of butterflies, just kind of like looking at it, being like, wow, like, you know, this is something I thought about it.
It's a huge responsibility.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing I did was like, I looked online, purchased like a lockbox. I'm like, all right, they have this. How do I make sure that it's properly locked up and like away? Like, you know. So yeah,
especially with kids, you need to make sure.
That was the first thing.
Yeah, because like I have boys and they just want to like shoot everything. So like. You know, they know dad has guns. They know I can't touch them. They're all locked away. I got safes. I got stuff like that. Yeah. But like, I am like, I was telling him, I got my first 22 back the other, 2 months ago. So it's like a little chipmunk. It's like a little Ruger chipmunk gun. So it's like a full wood stock, bolt action, and you have to pull it back. So it's like a double safety. That was my first gun when I was like 5 or 6 that I learned on. And I just got it back for my boys to learn on. It's awesome. I'll show you. I'll send you one later. It's nice. So cool though, but I just got it back. But it's like a full-size mini rifle, so children can learn. It's got, it shoots 22 longs, 22 shorts, like the subsonics. So yeah, it's a little chipmunk gun.
Yeah. It's been, like I said, the past week's been an experience, and like I know where it is and whatnot. But yeah, that first purchase, it's.
And I'm gonna go with him, so he, knows how to do everything. So you walk him through, because it's nerve wracking. Like, I don't know about you. I mean, you've handled firearms, for a long time now, and so have I. But like, even if you haven't shot in a while, you're always like that first one. You're like, woo,
yes,
woo. You're like, oh, I remember this feeling,
Yep. Because every time you pull the trigger, it should surprise you.
It should.
That's how smooth you should be pulling the trigger. Like each one, even when you're in a situation where you're going back and forth with somebody with exchanging rounds, each one should be a surprise, because that's how calculated it should be. Because once that round leaves that chamber, you're never getting it back. So you better make sure that what you're going towards, you're on target. You're on set.
Well, and for that period of time, you're God.
You
are. You're judging somebody's. If you have to do it in a combat situation, I'm sure. Like, you're basically as close as you're gonna get to playing God, which is scary.
Yeah, pretty much.
And not like in a cool way. Like it's terrifying, because like there's certain repercussions for certain things, and that's what people have to understand about owning a firearm. It's that serious. Like, you don't get a fuck up with them.
No,
you don't get a.
No, and people do get hurt.
Yeah. So you got to be smart and do it. And that's what we talk about. Like, I think everybody like you should own a gun, but you should do a safety course. You should go through
there's a lot of
all
courses,
that stuff. And even if you don't want one and you don't need one, like, you should know how to use one.
Of course. And I'm sure you guys roll with all police officers, SWAT team guys, state troopers, military dudes. I mean, they'll probably tell you the same thing, because they're using them every day.
Yeah.
This is a good thing. But I'm actually glad there's police officers in your gym rolling.
Well, yeah, no, there's a bunch. I mean, my first black belt is, he's an officer, he's a sergeant or detective now and whatever. But when he started, he was a patrolman, and he was my first black belt. I have a lot of law enforcement that trains with us. And then, like, even when all that George Floyd stuff went down and stuff like that, like, I ran a special because I was like, what can I do for my community? So, like, I ran a special, so I gave all the cops free, like, 6 months. 6 months, because we got your 6. Just to teach them how to hold, like, you don't have to always go for the gun. You don't always have to go for this. And, like, just get comfortable in that rolling around and that combative nature, where it doesn't have to be the first resort. All those guys in all those situations, everything that came out, they were getting their fucking ass kicked. So you're scared to death. This guy's kicking your head in, and you pull a gun, because you know how many cops I've grown up with and talked to, and I'm like, well, you should train. And they're like, oh, I got a nightstick and a gun. Yeah, and then you're gonna be on fucking NBC nightly news. So but a lot of them, a lot of the guys I train with, they don't want to have to pull, and they want to be safe, and they want to go home to their, But that's what you do when you train every day. You're not surprised for the situation as much.
You're fascinated. It's fascinating to see the knowledge share too. When you roll with cops and you find out what they can actually do and what they can't do, as far as when they're subduing someone who's trying to hurt them.
Oh yeah, well, they cut their balls off on that too. Is like, oh, somebody's trying to smash their face in with a hammer. Oh, don't choke them. That guy's trying to murder me. What do you want me to do? Put him to sleep. Put him to sleep. But like, if you know how to literally choke somebody, like we put, we do it in training all the time. Yeah. So like, somebody goes out, like it happens. But you need to know when somebody goes out and how to let go.
Yeah, and like, of course, situations they have that one in New York, Gardner.
I think so. The guy selling
Yeah.
smokes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you're also dealing with a guy that's like 6 foot something, 300, 400 pounds. Obviously,
Yeah, did you see like that little Puerto Rican officer like going up and he's like, "Hey man, like whatever," and it's like,
Yeah.
dude, he's my size, dealing with
Yeah.
a monster, and if you don't know how to deal with that, it's gonna take 5 guys to get him down.
Other things happen, like,
Oh, there you go.
I'm back. I said it's not like I was saying, like, it's not like the movies where like you like choke a guy out and you let go and he's like dead, like like ugh, and the guy just instantly dies. No, like you can slowly put somebody out and then you let go of them, you roll them over, and they're breathing again.
Yeah.
Unless he's 350 pounds or he's got fentanyl in his. People make these rules where you can't do these things. Like, people making these rules where you can't do these things have never been in a situation where they had to do these things.
That's why I said it all the time. I did a defund the
council
episode with my buddy, and I'm like, the people that are making the laws on restraint has never, ever had to restrain anybody.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's good. That's with everything nowadays. Everybody who's making fucking rules don't have to live the lifestyle.
Of course, it's the rules for thee and not for me.
That's right.
Yeah.
America.
It's like
America.
America, God damn it. But that's what it. There has to be just so much change has to go on for us to get back on track. Just in life in general, just us to recorrect this train wreck that's about to happen, or is happening. It's like 1,000 car wrecks every single day around me.
I still have good belief that there's good people out there, and something's going to go down, and we're going to get pointed in the right direction. I think it's going to. I've said to Drew before, like, it's going to get a little darker before the light comes, but you always got to walk through the darkness to enjoy the light.
Exactly. 100%.
I think right now they're just showing the people, like, it's been here, but this is what's coming, and I think a lot of people, I said Joe Biden ain't my president. I'm saying it. He ain't my president.
Here we go. I mean, it's gonna be the next week's gonna be very interesting. What's gonna happen? And it's almost like we say that about every week. Next week's gonna be crazy. At least we know 2021
crazier.
Yeah, but at least like 2020, we were blindsided, completely freight trained, T-boned. Wasn't expecting it. 2021, we know what we're getting ourselves into, and we think 2020 is bad. 2021, one. Like 2021. It's 2021. So I mean, I don't know where we're going, but I hope we can steer ourselves into a direction where we can still recover and come together, because there's children involved. There's people's lives are involved. Being destroyed and ripped apart. It's like you have to come together.
Protect the kids, man. We always say that, man.
Yeah,
protect the kids.
You were talking like even families aren't talking to each other.
Yeah. I know.
It's insane.
I might know someone whose family's.
I know. I get it, man. I get it.
And I hope they watch this and they understand like where I'm coming from. Like that, do the research of the flow of information for yourself, and don't rely on someone to tell you and for you just to believe it, because
I know
that's not how the world works.
No, I know, and me and Drew say it all the time. Like, you don't have to take our word for it. We want you to question us. Like,
Yes.
we're free thinkers. We're trying to find the answers, and we're trying to do the things, and we're not. I just don't want to be spoon fed this garbage down my throat and take it for what it is.
Yeah, I think you just push people. You got the phone in your hands. Like, jump on there. Do a little research.
And we all don't have to agree, but you know what? We have to agree on something soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's going to come to a point where like we're not going to be able to correct a certain ship if we all don't start agreeing on basic human things.
Yes, and they were already talking about giving out another 1.2, 1.9 trillion. The ramifications of that, the effects of that will be so ongoing that I think it might even split us even in a further direction than we were already at. And it's unfortunate, and I hope, if we ever get the chance to speak again, on this platform, that everyone's in a better place, not just us, but the whole country, because we're going down a path that there's no U-turn.
I know.
It only goes one way, and that one way, it could be right Cold War, then there's a hot war, and you don't want to keep going towards a hot war.
Yeah. I know, and you see it, and that's what's scary. And it's not even with just I think with just Americans. That's one way, civil, but I think there's other forces at work here that are trying to get into our land.
Yeah, and do your research because trust me, they're doing their research on you.
Yes.
Do the research on them to make sure that what they're telling you is true because they know what we're doing. They know right now that we're having a conversation.
Yep.
Like it's obvious we're using their platform.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I mean, it just makes sense.
We didn't use Commie Zoom, so.
Damn commies. Next time we're gonna be using ham radio.
I know. Yeah. Don't worry, I just got mine delivered by Amazon yesterday.
They're gonna shut us down. It's only a matter of time.
But like Drew thinks I'm crazy with some shit, but little by little he keeps looking at me. He's like, "That did come true. That is on its way."
I've noticed Drew does wrangle you in when you start going down that rocky road.
Yin and yang.
We go back and forth. Every once in a while he drops something on me. I'm like, okay, and then every once in a while I drop something on him, and he's just like, all right, So
yeah, we need that balance.
You're like the loose cannon, and Drew just like. He's like, I'll keep him. I got him. I'm bringing him.
Don't go off the cliff, yeah. Don't go off the cliff. He's got like one of them like child things that you put on, like those harnesses.
I think a little leash.
It's just like Miami Vice, like like we're driving around the white Ferrari. I got the blazer sleeves rolled up, and he's like the hothead, and I'm like, yo, man, like chill, it's all good, man.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I know, but like that's the whole thing, like, but I do my research. That's why.
Everyone should.
I'm just passionate.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone should do their own research and never be told a certain. I mean, yes, someone can guide you, and then you always have the ability to figure out for yourself.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Well, that's why I say I open a door for Drew sometimes, and I say you can walk through it and make your own decision.
Yeah.
But once you walk through that door, you can't walk back.
Yeah. You close it and lock it. Like you're on your own. Only way out is to break the glass.
You need munchies. It's all good.
Yeah. You'll be okay.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta take that long, strange trip, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta cross over to a different dimension.
Yeah, I know. Jeez. I get it, bro.
Yeah.
So, but what's it called? We're coming up on almost an hour and a half.
Man.
Nice. What's it called? I appreciate you coming on. We had fun. Remember, guys, check out rolljunkie.com.
Yep.
2 Live Fools, 15% off all your Roll Junkie grappling gear.
Yep. And t-shirts. You can see us in the video. We're in the t-shirts now.
Yeah, we're rocking them. This is one of my favorite.
Yep.
You got to send me your address because I'm going to send you up one.
Dude, you guys are badasses. Drew, congratulations on the new edition. I hope the gym keeps going and people keep coming and screwing this nonsense lockdown that's happening because of now all of a sudden Cuomo says, open it up, and Lori Lightfoot says, open it up. That's ironic timing.
The hypocrisy is beautiful in 2020, 2021.
We're trying to get people in the gym, man, training, staying healthy, mentally and physically.
Yeah, there people are training. I think people are starting to get sick of the bullshit.
Yeah. So we're getting there slowly but surely, man. We're pushing ahead, man. But it was so nice talking to you, man. Once again, thank you for doing this, man. So
we appreciate you. We appreciate your service, sir.
I appreciate your support and good luck with the gym, guys. And I hope everything levels out soon.
Yep. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, man.
Got it, man.
Later.
Later.